Baruch atah Adonai Asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav b'tzivan La'asok b'divrei Torah La'asok b'divrei Torah La'asok b'divrei Torah La'asok b'divrei Torah La'asok b'divrei Torah. Okay, so this is one of my very favorite things to teach. When I was a young man, I thought Talmud was for old men who had too much time on their hands. Then I now believe that Talmud holds the secrets to the universe. So either it holds the secrets to the universe, or I'm an old man with too much time on my hands. And either is a possibility, and I recognize it. The problem is that without Talmud, you do not have Judaism. Okay? You do not have Judaism in your mind. And yet most Jews have no idea what is Talmud. They really have no clue. And it's not their fault. Up until recently, my understanding is you could become a Reform rabbi and not even have necessarily required to take a class in Talmud. Okay? I don't know if that's still the case, but up until recently. And so how do you teach something that's not, you haven't really learned? I'm very blessed. My first real Talmud teacher was Elijah Shochet. Rabbi Shochet was Heschel's protege, and teaching and studying with him was like having warm milk and cooking. It's really wonderful. So when we go over what Talmud is, you hear it all the time, you hear these terms, you don't know what they are, people don't know what they are, and it's a real shame because it is the richness. So let's go back a little bit to understand. Torah, the Torah that comes from Mount Sinai, the written Torah, and then there's Torah Sheba'al Peh, Torah from the master of the mouth, Torah that's oral Torah. And that's what Talmud is often just referred to as is the oral Torah. Okay? The oral Torah. Okay, so God goes to Moses, he says, hey Moses, he's dictating the Torah to Moses, and he says, Moses, I want you to write down, protect the Sabbath. So Moses writes down, protect the Sabbath. Moses says, God, what's that mean? And God says, it means you do this, you don't do this, you do this, you don't do that. What he wrote down is the written Torah, the other's oral. With me so far? Mm-hmm. Now, from that point, Moses or Moses passes it to Joshua, and if you look on the very first page, this is actually from Pirkei Avot, which we're going to study a little bit.
From what?
Pirkei Avot. We'll go over it in a minute, but it tells the history of this. Moses received from Sinai and passed it to Joshua. Joshua passed it to the elders to the prophets passed it on to the men of the Great Assembly. And the men of the Great Assembly, the Sanhedrin, and they would have discussions and laws. So here's what happens, okay? Celeste walks into the court, the men of the assembly, and she says, I got a problem. Am I allowed to light a candle on a Saturday night before 3 stars? Or let's see the easier one. Am I allowed to move a glass of water more than 3 feet on Shabbat? And Rabbi Lois says, I was taught by my grandfather, was taught by his grandfather, was taught by Joshua, was taught by Moses, no, we were not. And Rabbi Orlando says, I was taught by my grandfather, was taught by his grandfather, was taught by his grandfather, was taught by Joshua, was taught by Moses, that you are. And they argue. Okay? And some people will argue on one side or the other. You'll have these discussions. And then they'll have a verdict. We side with Rabbi Lois, we side with Rabbi Orlando, or my favorite, Teku, which means we have no idea, the Messiah will tell us when he shows up. Very frustrating the first time you study a bunch of pages of Talmud, and you find it to say, they come with this answer, Teku. It's like, well, why did you waste all my time then? So this is but it's very practical. Now, as in any dialogue or discussion, the dialogues are not linear. When we speak, we don't speak linearly. That's not how conversations work. Right? So, walk in and we're talking, we've talked about, just before we started class, we talk about everything from the size of a room, to measuring, to poker, to having children, making sure you listen to your children, right? To all these different things. That's just how it works. Make sense? If you try to study Talmud linearly, you would do what's called breaking your teeth. And that's what many people call studying Talmud. They do what's called, so you got to break your teeth. Some of these old rabbis say, you got to break your teeth studying Talmud. It's biggest load of hoo-ha I've ever heard. It's just not true. If you allow Talmud to be like a symphony, and you experience it, and you let it go through you, and then like listening to a good symphony, you appreciate more and more as you study more and more. So you appreciate Handel a certain level, as a composer a certain level, but then when you listen to all the water music suites, now you listen to it at a different level. You appreciate Wagner's Ring, his opera about the ring, and then you listen to the Valkyries, it starts giving you better appreciation of Wagner as you start studying more of his music, right? Same type of thing. As you experience more Talmud, you start getting it more fully. There's a practice called daf yomi. It means reading a page of Talmud a day. Talmud literally means lilmod means to study or to teach. Talmud means you will study or you will teach. It means both. We traditionally do not study Talmud alone. We study with a friend, with our friends. Okay? So they have these dialogues, and then ultimately they're codified, and these transcriptions are codified into what's called the Mishnah. This is codified by Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Judah the Prince, known as the Rav, and he codifies. And then after that, you have additional dialogues, and they're called the Gemara. Okay, and that's structurally the two parts of Talmud: the Mishnah and then Gemara. Okay, and if you look at
how did he? When you say codified,
he writes down.
Yeah, but codified to me implies like some authorization, like so we don't have the Pope, you know.
Right, but he is an author. He's pretty darn close. He is both an author and editor. You can't edit without being an author too. So a page of Talmud looks like this. Okay, this is what we're reading. Now, to give an example, this is Masora Publishing, and this is from the tractate for the Masechta Kiddushin. And if we were to look at it, to give you an idea of just studying the one page, and this does not translate all of it. Only translates what's right here, centerpiece. On the other side, you have different commentators. But so this is 56.
So that one piece there is the Torah.
No, not it's Torah. None of it's Torah. It's all Talmud. This one piece is the actual writings, and these are different commentaries that come later, but it was called Tosafot. I just want to give you an example. That one page ends up being 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of English. Okay?
Because English is more.
No, because when they do it here, as you'll see when you open it up, that you'll see as we start studying, they do Hebrew and then they do the English. So you have both. You'll see when we get to it. Okay? So that gives you an idea how large the Talmud is. Okay?
So is that the whole Talmud?
No. This is not even the tractate on this one topic. The whole Talmud in this size of volumes covers about this whole wall, maybe a little bit more. Okay? In this size. It's large.
And when you speak of the written Torah,
That's what we write. That's what we read.
you're talking about the
the
Tanakh.
scroll. No, the Torah.
Or just
the scroll. Just the scroll. Okay? This is the oral Torah.
Okay.
This is where they decide what's going to be in the Tanakh.
Okay.
Okay, the discussions of what books are going to be codified. Remember I said the original order of Ketuvim was a different order than we have today. Mm-hmm. We find that in the Talmud, where they talk about these things. And everything is discussed in the Talmud.
So the Talmud is kind of the explanation of how they came up with the Tanakh?
That's only a small part. The Talmud is Judaism. Okay? It is Judaism. You cannot understand Judaism without studying Talmud.
Kind of like the Federalist Papers.
Times 1,000. Yeah, you can't really understand what the framers are talking about without the Federalist Papers, right? In the same way, only even more so, because it's not just one issue, it's every issue. And anything topic you can think of is in the Talmud. Anything and everything. That's why I do Talmud and tobacco. Study different topics each month. This month the topic's going to be death, dying, and the afterlife.
How do you find? Well, this may be premature to what you're going to talk about here, but if you want to search for a topic on that wall of volumes, how do you find all the citations?
Today you go to the Sensino Talmud online, or you have it on your computer, and you punch in the word you want to search, and it tells you every place in the Talmud it is.
How did, and in the old days, it was just, that's what studying Talmud was about.
So there's Mishnah and there's Gemara, and every tractate, which is called a Masechta, has both Mishnah and Gemara, with one exception, that exception being Pirkei Avot. There is no Gemara to Pirkei Avot.
Say that once again.
Every tractate
Uh-huh.
has both Mishnah and Gemara.
What is a tractate?
It's a folio,
Okay.
okay? Has both Mishnah and Gemara, with the exception of Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot only has a Mishnah, but there are many commentaries on Pirkei Avot that are more modern, all sorts of things. Pirkei Avot means the ethics of our fathers.
The what?
Ethics of our fathers. Okay? So,
Is a tractate like a topic or more like a chapter?
yes, it's a folio.
Okay.
Okay? It's a file on your computer desktop that's labeled this, and what may be inside it could be a lot of files inside it. It's a folder, sorry, not files, it's a folder on your desktop, and inside that folder are all sorts of files. Okay?
Are they related or not necessarily?
Everything is related. How they get related is what we're going to start studying.
Okay.
Okay? Structurally, there's Mishnah and Gemara. Thematically, there is something called halacha, or halakha. It comes from the root of the Hebrew word lalachet, which means to go. Halakha means a way of going, or as we normally translate it, the law. Okay? And then we have agadah. Agadah means lore. Stories. Now, most people, this is my disclaimer, most rabbis, most people who teach Talmud, teach that the halakha is important and the agadah not so much. Okay? I side on the opposite. Okay? I side with the minority opinion, but I'm in some really great company throughout the ages, that the agadah is what is important and the law comes out of the stories. That's where I side. Okay? Just, you understand. So I teach it differently than you would if you were to go take this. And at Chabad, they're going to teach it very, very, very differently. You're going to go page by page, you're going to look at each page and see, and, I don't think that's the way to teach it. I think you teach it thematically, and you learn to love Talmud, and people want to study. In the practice of reading Talmud, every day, there's a practice called Daf Yomi. Daf means page, and Yomi means a day. So, Daf Yomi means you read a page of Talmud every day. Okay?
In order.
In order. And the cycle just finished, just start up again. It takes about 7.5 years to read the Talmud a page a day.
Jesus.
Now, I don't think he's involved, although he's
So
discussed.
yeah.
He has discussed. Now, the question I always have with Daf Yomi is, okay, you went through the whole Talmud, how much of the Talmud went through you? How much of the, it's an old statement from a great rabbi once, he said, how much of the Talmud went through you? Okay, I'm less concerned with how much you go through and more concerned how much goes through each of us. Okay? So, structurally, there's the Mishnah and the Gemara. Thematically, there's the halacha and the agadah. The halacha and the agadah. With me so far. Just take it a step at a time, nice and easy. Okay? Now, throughout, there's on the Masechta is a tractate. Throughout the Talmud, you will have what is called a machlochet or machlochas. This means a debate, an argument, a war. This is usually pinned upon two different rabbis who are arguing they have a machlochet between them. Okay? And they're sparring partners for each other. Okay? And through that sparring, you start getting an understanding of truth in a different way. Now, often, something will be said as if Rabbi Hillel said it when it was actually just one of Hillel's students or from the school of Hillel. The Sanhedrin, remember where this all takes place, has 71 elders. And the way you become an elder is a man of the great assembly is you apprentice with another one for however many years. 71 people. This is the court. Jewish court is a great thing. If you have a unanimous decision, the verdict is thrown out because the idea is no 71 people can agree on anything. Isn't that brilliant? Isn't that brilliant? Our sages would have looked at the impeachment proceedings and they would have laughed their head off and said, if you're telling me that every one of the Democrats voted this way and every Republican voted this way, they voted totally in line, something ain't right. Okay? So, so often you have rabbis who are sparring partners with each other. Hillel and Rabbi Shammai, Yochanan and Rabbi Lakish, different ones like that. Okay, we're going to look into some of these guys. The key to understanding Talmud is to not try to analyze it intellectually, but rather flow through it and follow it a step at a time. For example, we will study a piece where the question has to do with turning off a candle, dousing a candle when you can and cannot do it. And it goes into the concept of, ultimately, it takes you to the concept of the soul and the afterlife and life and death. And the way they get there, you got this look on your face, the way they get there is, the book of Proverbs, it says, Nishmat Adam Ne'eranai, the human being is the soul of God. I'm sorry, the soul of the human being is the candle flame of God. Okay? So based on that, when we start talking about candles, we can now tie it to that quote and start going more, and we start talking about other topics.
Could you say that again?
The soul of the human being is the candle of God, it's the candle flame of God. That's in the book of Proverbs. So if we're talking about candles, candle flame, it's an easy jump to say, let's talk about the soul of the human being. You're talking about putting out a candle after you're dying, someone dying.
Well, somebody had to remember that when you're talking about putting out a candle, that there's this other writing way over there somewhere.
And that is why you apprenticed for decades in order to become one of the men of the assembly. Okay? And you ask the question, how do you find something? Well, if I know that it's in a certain place in the tractate without my computer, right? I'm thumbing through pages looking for whatever topic. On the way to finding a topic, I'm going to get all sorts of knowledge, aren't I? Right?
But it's still not, maybe I'm being too hierarchical. It just helps me. It's still not clear to me exactly what the hierarchy is of the book, of the writings.
Because you're being too hierarchical.
Gemara.
Because you are being too hierarchical.
Okay, so let me ask you differently. How do I know whether I'm reading a tractate or the halakha?
The halacha are the themes inside the tractate. Okay, think of the tractate, the folder. And there are files inside your computer folder.
Yeah.
And there are different topics. And sometimes some of those topics will be very legalese, and sometimes some of those topics will be very phantasmagoric. Or study some, you'll get the idea.
Okay.
Okay? And then sometimes the dialogue is a hidden dialogue, and that's my personal, that's one of the things I really love. So let's say we were all talking about, okay? We were talking about whatever sexual act. My children came in to kiss me goodnight. Suddenly, conversation changes and you say, when the artist dips his paintbrush into the paint. Now we all know what we're talking about, don't we? Right? So you got to listen to the subtext too. Because that happens in Talmud too.
I got it. Okay.
Okay?
I need some experience.
You've got experience with subtext. Okay? Yeah. But this is, first thing to understand is structurally there's Mishnah and Gemara. Yeah. Thematically there's Halacha and Agadah. A folio, is called a masechta, and the debates between the two are called a machlokes. Okay, makes sense?
Yeah.
Yes. So since now we had there were the Ashkenazi and the Sephardi,
Talmud is Talmud.
And they do things differently.
Talmud is Talmud. That comes from customs. We're going back pre-Ashkenazi and Sephardi split. Now there are two Talmuds. There's the Babylonian and there's the Yerushalmi. Most of the time we study the Babylonian. The Bible is called the Babel. Okay? They're done at different points in our history of their son. They're all based on the same thing and they're very, very similar. But there are some subtle differences. We typically study the Bible. Okay? And Rabbi Eiden Steinsaltz has done a great commentary and translation of the whole Talmud into English as well, which I have upstairs. And that is, it's not that big. I mean, that size book, it's only the size of a couch. Look, you understand, page-wise, it's 7 years of pages. And you do a page a day, so you know how long it is.
360.
But you saw how big a page is.
Yeah.
Right? You saw how it takes 4 pages of English to translate it from the Hebrew, so let's just, for argument's sake, so let's call it 7 years is, I don't know how many pages, but let's just call 7 years 2,800 pages, and let's say you're doing 4 English pages per day, you're saying 10,000, 12,000 pages. Okay? It's a serious, and it's not light reading, although I think it's fun. So let's do a little reading of it. If you want to understand a great book to begin Talmud, that I think is a fabulous book, it's this book called Every Man's Talmud. It's edited by Avraham Cohen. And this breaks down to Talmudic teachings, and it breaks it down by themes. It gives you some stuff to introduce. Alright, so let's take a look. Every man's called. Alright, so let's take a look at this first piece from Pirkei Avot. Okay? Moses received the Torah from Sinai, he passed it to Joshua. Joshua passed it to the elders to the prophets. Prophets passed it on to the men of the Great Assembly. They, the men of the Great Assembly, made 3 statements. Deliberate in judgment, raise up many students, make a fence around the Torah. Now there's a commentary on this particular one. I forget which book I copied it from, but it's to give you an idea of some of the, this is the text itself. Now if you look at that, there's so much we could just unpack for the next 5 hours on just these 3 teachings, right? To be deliberate in our judgment, to not rush to judgment. Okay, to be very deliberate, to not bribe, all the different things that go around with judgment. To raise up many students. Okay? A teacher should have students that are outsurpassing them. Okay? That's a good teacher gets joy when his or her students gain their own on their own. Teacher's got a lot of ego in it, maybe not so much. And then you have this really beautiful contest or concept that you are to make a siyag the Torah. You are to make a fence around the Torah. Great example of making a fence around the Torah is milk and meatballs. So, you can't mix milk and meat, right? So I can't have a hamburger and a piece of cheese, right? Can I have a chicken parmesan? Chicken with cheese.
See,
No,
that's where I disagree.
Okay, wait.
Yeah, I don't
The
know.
law would be, no, because a chicken's not milk, a chicken's not meat, right? A chicken is like a fish. You can't milk a fish, can't milk a chicken. Chicken should be part of it, should be neutral,
That's
intellectually, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, we learn right here. Sages make a fence around the Torah. So, since it is very easy and easier then than now to confuse a burnt piece of chicken with a burnt piece of cattle, right? We're going to include chicken under meat, so no Jew makes a mistake thinking he or she is eating chicken and milk when in fact they're eating cow and milk. That's your example of building a fence around the Torah. Okay? I have a friend, keeps kosher in pretty much in every respect, except he will eat chicken and cheese whenever he can together. He says, I'm not stupid, I know the difference.
My chicken is parve.
But the law is to change it.
So what about can you mix meat with eggs?
Yeah.
Because eggs are parve.
Eggs are what?
So it
But
parve.
I mean,
And
because
you
cattle
it just
doesn't
doesn't
lay
mix
an
it.
egg, but why
That's
would
right.
you
But
have?
I didn't
the
say because
chicken
this
with
is part of the example
Right.
of making a fence around the Torah. You can have lox and cream cheese, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you can't milk every time I was talking about milking something, I keep thinking of that Robert De Niro, Adam Sandler movie. You guys, he's been Adam Sandler.
He milks the cat.
Yeah, if it's a mammal, if it has nipples, you can milk it. And De Niro says, I have nipples, can you milk me? Right? The in-laws or something.
I wasn't allowed to eat mayonnaise because it was white and could be confused
Correct.
with milk, and I couldn't have it on my
So
sandwich.
butter.
So the whole idea is,
Can't have butter and milk.
no, you have no milk product in it. So this is though taking the idea, and it says, the rabbis are to create a fence around the Torah, to protect it. Okay, that's why some holidays are 2 days. We're not sure when the new moon or full moon really is. We want to protect it. We want to make sure that people don't make mistakes. And so that's what the scholars are doing, to create a fence around the Torah. That's why chicken is considered meat. Because it is very easy to say, I can give you 2 pieces of Parmesan. And one could be milk, or one could be chicken, one could be meat. You don't necessarily know. right?
That's got a different.
Yes.
No, you don't know until, yeah, you know when you're eating it.
Oh, when you cut it.
You
Or
don't-
when you're cooking
But
it,
you're not allowed to even have it on the same plate, milk and meat.
what about cooking it?
Okay? You're not allowed to, you don't mix milk and meat. So this is to say chicken, fowls, this is what the logic is, okay? We could spend 5 hours on just this concept,
Right.
right, of creating a fence around the Torah. How important it is to create a fence around the Torah. So that people don't make a mistake. You know, if you go too close, you might go the wrong direction. So we don't keep a fence around it so that no one gets too close.
So what happens if you make a mistake?
Right, you go ahead.
Diarrhea.
Is that right? You're going to hell?
You either go to hell or you donate 15% of your paycheck every week to a synagogue. Every week.
Right.
No, every week. Then you don't go to hell.
So where is
There's no
this,
mitzvah police.
where is this
The
written?
fiery finger of
This
God
is
is
in
not going to
Pirkei
come
Avot.
down and strike me.
Yeah.
Pirkei Avot is a tractate of Talmud, of which Pirkei Avot only has a Mishnah, it does not have a Gemara. So Pirkei Avot, the folder on the desktop says Pirkei Avot, ethics of the followers. Make sense? And that's, I think this may be the only Pirkei Avot in this handout. So we don't want to spend too much time. Yeah. So this is Pirkei Avot, okay? And it's all sorts of ethics. Someone once made a great quote that it's a manual for rabbis on how to act. So it's ethics of our fathers. It's also the traditional reading between Passover and Shavuot. It's also the traditional reading you read during the 30 days of mourning after someone who wrote that. Okay? So we say these things to make sure. Often with the law, this is one of the basics of a lot of legal decisions. You want to make sure you don't make, so we want to make sure you celebrate Shabbat till Shabbat ends. Shabbat doesn't end until there's 3 stars in the sky. It's evening way before there are 3 stars in the sky. Moreover, aren't there always stars in the sky? You just can't always see them. Right? So why do we say 3 stars in the sky? So no one should make the mistake and say, it's Havdalah, Shabbat's over, and it's still Shabbat. You put a fence around the Torah. Be great. Everyone has a calculator and a clock and a calendar, and they can say, you know, sunset is at 5:42 and 5:47, 6:12, and whatever. But to make sure no one makes a mistake, we're really taking an hour and a half after the sun sets, aren't we, before you can see those 3 stars. That's the idea. To put a fence around it. Does that make sense? So this is already just in this line, let alone being delivered in students and raising many students.
Yeah, look at the conversation we're having just with this.
So,
Yes, so what about?
hold on.
Okay.
So if we were to, if someone taped this and transcribed it, and you were reading a transcription, it might be a little confusing.
I'd be lost.
Right? If you tried to follow it linearly. But none of us are lost, right? None of us are lost, right? Because dialogue is organic. That's how you have to study Talmud. Now there are some things that are, do this, don't do that. Well, that's the easy part. But how we get there, that's the hard part. Everyone with me so far? Now often you have prototypes or archetypes in the persons of different rabbis throughout history, and they are disagreeing with each other. You learn about different viewing perspectives. One of those big ones is Hillel and Shammai. Many of us have heard of Rabbi Hillel. Rabbi Hillel is the great Hillel, Hillel the Elder, the great Hillel that you name all, Hillel House, all the Hillels on college campuses. Hillel is so compassionate and kind, etc., etc. Well, he has a sparring partner named Shammai. And Rabbi Shammai, quite honestly, is intellectually he's usually right, I think. And we usually side with Hillel, because he's more of the populist and it makes more sense, he's more feeling. He's more compassionate. By the way, I think Shammai was amazing, because the trowel issue, when it says he shoos someone away with the trowel. So I actually think I think that's it, but there's no way to prove that. All right. So let's read a little bit of Hillel. Now, turn the page.
So what are the questions?
Only one? I failed.
Trying to put this, so when I go to the very first book of Talmud, and I open it up to the very first page,
Berachot, page 2.
is that a tractate?
Because nothing
Am I
starts.
in a tractate?
You are in the tractate Berachot.
Okay, got it.
Okay? And all Talmud starts on page 2. They all start on page 2.
So women, it used to be that men would just study the Talmud, but do women?
Women can certainly study Talmud, and women are referred to in the Talmud. And there's some great rabbis who were women in the Talmud. Specifically Bruya, Rabbi Meir's wife. So it's not the issue. The issue is women are commanded to study in the same way. And men need to study this. I also think, honestly, that Jews are pretty smart. I think that long before Robert Bly and John, the different guys who were James Hillman, long before the quote-unquote men's movement, I think that you had men's groups going on, and they were just called Talmud study groups. Okay? All right, so.
Do more to keep the guys in line.
And always take that. That's why we have 613 commandments, and we're obligated to 610. Okay, so now, if you look, this is in the Masechta in the tractate on Shabbat. It's called Shabbos. Okay? So, the first thing to understand is this isn't a dialogue on the Sabbath. Right? That's what this whole tractate is going to be around in one way or another. Now, if you look where it is, I've marked it off, and it starts, the Gemara cites some other examples of ways that responded to sarcastic or otherwise improper questions. Do you all see that?
Yes.
Now let me explain how this is written in this particular publisher's style. Okay? It says in the original language. Tanu Ramanan. The rabbis taught in a Baraisa, an early teaching. Okay?
What is a brisa?
An early teaching.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So here it says, first the Hebrew, then it says a translation. But Talmud is written in shorthand. So if you were to look at that paragraph, the stuff that is dark is the actual text. The stuff that is light is the editor's additions to make it readable. So the actual text says, the rabbis taught in a Baraisa, one should always be humble like Hillel, and one should not be stern like Shammai. And what they've written is the Gemara cites some other examples of ways that in response to the sarcastic or otherwise improper questions, the rabbis taught in a Baraisa that one should always strive to be humble and gentle in his ways like Hillel, and not be stern and yielding like Shammai. So you see how it added in to make the shorthand into complete sentences. When we're reading it, we're reading not the Hebrew, but we will read the actual, both the dark and light, so that you know what it is. Now, if it is italicized, that means it is a quote from somewhere else, usually the Tanakh. And if you were to look down, the editor cites where those quotes are from. So if it was an italicized in dark letters, it's because that's a quote from somewhere in the Bible. Make sense? Everyone following it so far? This is just out of it. Okay.
Does the Hebrew include, since I can't read Hebrew.
It's Talmudic Hebrew and it's Aramaic.
Okay, but does it include the light print?
No.
It doesn't.
No.
Okay. But it's understandable to someone that reads Hebrew.
And it's understandable to one who studies.
Right. So if
Yes.
you were just reading the Hebrew, you get it.
Correct.
Got it.
Okay. Now, who wants to continue reading? The Baraisa illustrates this with a story. It once happened that two people, which turn the page, made a bet with one another. Who wants to continue reading?
They said, whoever goes and provokes Hillel to lose his temper, let him take 400 zis as his prize. Thereupon one of them said, I will provoke him.
Okay, so the bet is if you can make Hillel lose his temper, you make 400 zuz. $400 bet. Okay? Please continue.
Someone takes up that bet. The Baraisa recounts the events that followed. That day, it so happened, was Friday, the eve of Sabbath, and Hillel was busy washing his hair in preparation for the Sabbath. As he was doing so, this person went and passed by the doorway of his house, calling, Is there a Hillel here? Is there a Hillel here? Hillel put on his cloak and went out to greet the person.
Now again, you just read what the editor has added with the sentences. What if you were just reading the text? It would say, that day, the eve of the Sabbath, and Hillel was washing his head. This person went and passed by the doorway of his house, calling, Is there Hillel here? Is there Hillel here? Put and went out to greet the person. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not. No, this isn't.
It's
It's not like No, it's just trying to fill in the blanks to make it easier to study, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay? Alright, please continue.
Make it easier for someone who reads English to study?
Yes.
Because if this was
Makes it someone
in
who
Hebrew,
reads English to
you'd
study.
just be reading the you'd
Makes it
just
easier
be
for
reading
someone
the-
who's just studying English.
Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Go on.
And said to him, my son, what do you seek?
So he's taking a shower on the Erev Shabbat,
Right.
Friday evening, and this guy comes out and says, hello here. He gets dressed, goes out to greet the person, and he says, my son, what do you seek? Go on.
I have a question to ask of you.
No, the person replied to him.
The person replied to him, I have a question to ask of you. Hillel said to him, ask my son, ask. Ask my son, ask. The person then posed his query. Why is it that the heads of Babylonians are so round? Hillel replied to him, my son, you've asked a truly profound question. The reason is because they do not have skillful midwives. The person then went away and waited a while. And then
Okay, so he's preparing for Sabbath. Some Shmagegi comes and says, I got a question. Please tell me, why do the Babylonians have round heads? I've asked a profound question. You don't have skillful midwives. As opposed to most people would say, Shmagegi, I'm preparing for Sabbath, get out of here. Remember, the bet is to provoke Hillel. Go on.
The person then went away and waited a while. And then he returned to the front of Hillel's house and called out, is there a Hillel here? Is there a Hillel here? Hillel again put on his cloak and went out to greet the person and said to him, my son, what do you seek? The person replied to him, I have a question to ask of you. Hillel said to him, ask, my son, ask. Why is it that the eyes of the
First one that asked. You
Why
get
is
to
it
read
that the eyes of, and especially, I'm sorry, ask my son, ask. The person then asked, why is it that the eyes of the Talmudians are especially round? Hillel replied
They
to
live in a, it says here, an oasis in the Syrian desert. Go on.
my son, you have asked a profound question. The reason is because they live in sandy terrain. The person then went away and waited a while, then returned to Hillel's door and called out.
Each time he waits till he's naked, back in the shower,
Right.
and then calls out, hello. And each time, Hillel gets dressed, calls out, ask my son, ask. You've asked a truly profound question. Go on.
So the person replied to him, I have a question to ask of you. And Hillel said to him, ask my son, ask. The person then asked, why is it that the feet of Africans are so wide? Hillel replied to him, my son, you've asked a very profound question. And the reason is because they live in swamplands. Having failed to exasperate Hillel with his earlier questions, the person made one last attempt to do so. And he said to him, I have a great many questions to ask.
Remember, this is Erev Shabbat. This is Friday evening.
Well, in fact, you're going to have to do this all night, huh? And I'm fearful that you may become angry with me. Hillel wrapped himself in his cloak, sat down in front of him, and said to him, every question you have to ask, feel free to ask. The person then said to him, are you the great Hillel whom they call the Nasi
Nasi meaning the prince.
of the Jewish people? Hillel replied, yes. And the person said to him, if it is indeed you, let there not be many like you among the Jewish people. Hillel replied, my son, why do you ask? Why do you say such a thing? And the person responded, because on your account I've lost 400 Jews, and revealed to Hillel the wager he made. And he revealed to Hillel the wager he made. Hillel responded, one should always vigilantly guard his disposition, so that he maintains equanimity in all situations. Hillel is worth your losing on his account 400 Jews, and yet another 400 Jews, but Hillel will not take offense.
Okay, so we learn about not taking offense from this. We learn, that's what this is. This is a story. This is Haggadah. But from it also comes certain realities and halakha. Do you stop what you're doing to help someone, even if it's Shabbos? Hillel would say yes. Many people will say no, but Hillel would say yes based on this, wouldn't he? That their needs come before your needs and doing what you need to do. And there's lots of stories in our tradition of great rabbis, doing things that they're not supposed to do in theory because it's a holiday, it's Shabbos or whatever, because they had to take care of a crying baby. So Yom Kippur services waited. That kind of thing. This gives you an idea of a story about Hillel. From it we learn about who Hillel is. Now I want to explain, we're studying a certain way. We've got a little piece of Pirkei Avot, we're doing a little bit from Shabbos. about Hillel. Traditionally, when you're teaching children, the first piece of Talmud that is taught is this issue of lost and found objects. Question becomes before the court, when is an object that is found yours, and when is it not? You go through a lot of text talking about, well, if it's a little item, found in a little place, if it's got a simon, a sign, or a symbol, if it's, rare, if it's the kind of location it's found, and the value of what it's found, all these different things. Why do we teach that to children? And it goes purple wool and rice, all sorts of stuff. Ultimately what it comes down to is, if for some reason the owner of the object has a belief, a hope that it may be found, then it's not yours and you're obligated to report it. We don't believe in the finders keepers thing. Right, with me so far on this? Mm-hmm. So, if you found $100, if you found a wallet with $10,000 in Dodger Stadium, doesn't matter how many people are there, because of the value, it would be safe to say the person's still looking for it. Has anyone ever lost anything valuable that you still were thinking of? My mother, God rest her soul, lost an engagement. Somehow it went down some point long before I was born. My father, God rest his soul, bought her a much nicer ring. Didn't matter. We could be somewhere in a jewelry store. She was always looking in the used drawer to see if somewhere she could find her engagement ring. She never gave up hope because of the value of it. So if you found $10,000 in a wallet or an envelope at Dodger Stadium, you would be obligated to report it because the person it's a lot of money, right? If you found $1 right in front of my doorstep, you would be obligated to report it because it's a very small location. And if you found a ring in any location, but let us say that it was initialed, right? It was monogrammed, it was initialed. Then you're obligated to report it because that person obviously is hoping it can be found because it's unique, right? So it has to do with its uniqueness, its quality, its value, etc. And it makes you look at what is the other person who lost it, what is their take on, are they still hoping to find it? Here's your challenge. So you find a lighter, and you find it in Dodger Stadium. Is it yours? Well, based on its value, not very valuable, right? Based on its location, on the one hand, no, it's not, it's yours, right? So you're not obligated to report it. So what about what you don't know? What if this was a lighter that a man's great-grandfather gave to him right before he died? And he said, my great-grandson always had this every time he let us to go. What do you think of that? Now, knowing that, are you obligated to report it, or can you keep it?
If you know it,
Yes, you know it, yes.
You know it, you're obligated to report it, right? Mm-hmm. But you don't know, so is that a possibility?
Yeah.
So is anything you find ever yours?
No.
Because is any item ever really lost? And one could say, since every soul is unique, God never gives up hope on any soul either. But it forces us to look at the other. That's why it's a beautiful, that's why we teach it to children first. Right? You take a little toy and you say, okay, no, this is, I'll tell two different stories. Doesn't matter who in the first case. A guy wanted to open up a yoga studio. I believe it was in Santa Monica. I forget West Hollywood, Santa Monica. Allison knows. Guy didn't have the money, and he went out into the parking lot, and I guess he found $10,000 in an envelope. And he said, God wants me to open a yoga studio. And he opened his yoga studio with that money, saying, look, God wants me to open a yoga studio. He put $10,000 in. That's his theology? Is that Jewish theology? No.
But if he has the intention of once he opens his yoga studio and he makes $1,000 or $10,000 of paying it back or finding
He's not
the
doing that, it's
owner,
not his money. What if he goes bankrupt? Does it matter if he says, God wants me to put the 10,000 in a yoga studio, or God wants me to take 10,000 and put it on a horse at Santa Anita, or God wants me to give the 10,000 to charity, or God wants me to do whatever the bottom line is, he found $10,000
So,
that he viewed as his. Do we view it as his?
no, but what kind of does it talk about the actions you need to go through and at what
They're
point?
not yours. But I will tell you one thing that is not taught in that particular page, but something else that is taught, which is Meyer. Let me tell you a story. The Rabbi Meir, he was a Puria, he comes home, his children are not at the table he doesn't want to bring up. Where are they? And his wife says, you know, I have a question. Years ago, probably serious, he's going years ago, Nolan's beautiful pair of diamond earrings. I want them back now. I've really grown accustomed to them. Should I give them back? He goes, foolish woman, of course you should, you know what the law is. Oh, they've had dinner, they finished dinner. The children takes them up to the boys' room, where they're both dead on. So he's tearing out his beard. She says, husband, remember that your ears should hear what your words spoke. They're unknown to us. God took them back.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see how this now has a lot of pieces. I'll tell you a good story. I think in E3 or TK. So they're 3 or 4 years old. Preschool. And one of my sons comes home with a toy. Regular toy. A little toy. He says, look what I found in the sandbox in this great little toy. I said, son, is that what yours? Well, I found it in Finders Keepers, Daddy. Well, but what if this was obviously someone else's toy, right? Well, yeah, but they lost it. It's not a big deal. And I like it. Okay, but what if that toy was given to them by their grandmother who's now dead? It's the last thing the grandmother gave. And starts sobbing. Love it. Next day, he goes to the teacher, we gotta find who lost this. The teacher's like, what are you talking about? And, right? Spent 2 days trying to find out if they were found or not. See, it's not his toy. It makes sense?
Yeah.
Those are
But
the,
what happens then if you can't find the person it belongs to?
you may be holding on to it, but it's not yours, so. Okay?
But you can caretake it and
You
enjoy
may
it in the
choose
process.
you may end up depending on what it is and its value and where it is.
Because you may not always be able to find the owner.
No, you're not, but I found some money outside where the P.O. box for the temple is. In the parking lot, there was an envelope. Not envelope, it was just like $60. So I went into both where the P.O. box is, and I went to the cleaner out next door. And I said, if someone comes in and says that they lost some money, please, here's my number. And I put on the tree right by the parking space, if you lost some money, please call me. You lost some money right now. Now, if someone called me and I said, how much did you lose? And they said $20, I would say, okay, this isn't your $20. And they said, I lost $100. I'd say, okay, well, this isn't your $100. They said, I lost $60. This is last night. Okay, so yeah,
You do what you can to find the owner.
it's your responsibility or obligation. Okay, that's typically the first piece thematically of Talmud you teach, because it forces, think about what it's teaching a child. You're teaching a child not to be narcissistic and centered on themselves, to also understand others' point of view.
When was the Talmud first written?
Look, written, you're asking a different question. When is it assembled? I think it's around the 2nd century.
Second century.
Is when it's codified, when it's written down. But it exists prior to that. So, yeah. Let us continue on. We're going to study some more about Hillel. So let's keep going. Let's go to the next part about Hillel. This is a very famous one, as I recall. Yeah, the next two are very famous. So these last things I know. All right, who wants to read? Where it says the Barisa shows. Someone else. Go ahead.
A Barisa shows how Hillel's exceptional humility succeeded in bringing others closer to God. The rabbis taught in a Barisa.
Barisa?
It once happened that a Gentile came before Shammai and said to him, how many Torahs do you Jews have? Shammai replied to him, we have two, the written Torah and the oral Torah. The Gentile then...
Everybody said that you're going to have multiple, you have sparring partners, right? You're going to have different opinions. Okay. So he goes to Rabbi Shammai, the great Rabbi Shammai first. And Shammai says you have an oral Torah and a written Torah. Just like I just taught you, right? Takes a lot.
The Gentile then said to him, as for the Torah that is written, I believe you that it was given by God. But concerning the Torah that is oral, I do not believe you. Convert me to Judaism on condition that you will teach me only the written Torah, that I shall be bound only by its tenets.
By only its tenets.
By only its tenets. Upon hearing this, Shammai berated him for his insolence and sent him away disapprovingly. Afterwards, however, the Gentile came before Hillel with the same request, and Hillel converted him. The Baraisa relates the end of the story. One day, Hillel taught the alphabet to the new convert, saying to him, Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet, and so on.
So A, B, C, D.
But the following day, when the convert came for the next lesson, Hillel reversed the names of the letters for him, teaching him that the letter he had once called an Aleph the day before was in reality a Tav.
So in other words, if I wrote A, B, C, D, I taught you this is A, B, C, D. And when I came back and I pointed to A and I said, that's a Z. I pointed to a B and I said, that's a Y. I pointed to a C and I said, that's an X. Right? And I pointed to a D and I said, that's a W. I mean, you don't know the language, you don't know the symbols, right? That's what Hillel did. Okay? You guys got what he did.
Right.
Go on.
And so on. Taken aback by the change, the convert said to Hillel, but yesterday you did not recite it to me this way. Hillel replied to him, so you see then, are you not relying upon me to recognize the letters of the alphabet? Rely on me also then about the veracity of the oral law.
Hillel got him in the same place, didn't he? But he got him there in a different way, a much more gentle way. Shammai is not generally so gentle. That book I was referring to earlier, that this book, Passion for Truth, just started working on for Rabbi Shochet. Tells what Kotzko Rebbe, who apparently was not always so gentle, but incredibly passionate in his search and desire for Torah, truth, and for life.
Is there a correlate in Christianity to the Talmud? I don't mean to the Talmud itself, but this whole notion of discussion and...
In fact, this is one of the disputations of the Middle Ages. It's one of the big issues. We consider this holy. And they say, it's not Bible, it's not holy. There's a whole concept of that. There are also places in the Bible where it says, in the Torah, where God says, as I have told you. But he never told us anything about it before in the Torah. Because he has told us orally. So, no, and it creates an entirely different mindset. Remember, Christianity comes from Catholicism, comes from the church, the absolute infallibility of the Pope. Which I really love that concept. Because, the Pope's only infallible when he sits in a certain chair. Did you know that?
No.
It's only infallible when he sits in a certain chair. So I think it's not him, I think it's the chair. That's always been mine. But the point is that this is the way it is. This is the way, are you going to hell? This is the way it is. For us, it's the dialogue. And we're going to study not this week, but next week. We're going to study about some rabbis and why the dialogue and the argument, the machlokes is so important. It's so important to understand. So, here we find about Hillel again, being gentle, but getting his teaching across. Right? Okay. So please read the next one, a second narrative.
A second narrative, again, Hillel's interaction with a prospective convert. There was
very famous.
There was another incident involving a certain Gentile who came before Shammai and said to him, convert me to Judaism on this condition, that you will teach me the entire Torah, while I stand on one foot. Upon hearing these words, Shammai pushed the person away
with the ruler he was holding in his hand.
With the ruler he was holding in his hand. Undeterred, the Gentile came before Hillel
Actually, it's not rule, it's trout.
and presented him with the same request. Before the
And
conversion,
Hillel converted.
and Hillel converted him. Before the conversion, Hillel said to him, "That which is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow." This is the
This, in a few words, is the entire Torah. All the rest is commentary on this one central part. Now go and practice. And go and learn. That's the entire Torah. The rest is commentary on it. It's a very famous passage.
do unto others.
Well, this is where, now, this is hundreds of years prior to Jesus. Is it the same as the Golden Rule?
Well, that's what I came up with, do unto others. It's
Yeah,
the same
that's
thing.
right.
Let us suppose I am a masochist,
Actually,
and I abide by the Golden Rule. That allows me to be sadistic to you, does it not? This does not.
But in the same thing, it says that which is hateful to you. If I'm a masochist, then it's not, or a sadist, it's not hateful to me.
Wait. Think about it for a second. It's different than the Golden Rule. It's much better. Not that I'm prejudiced, but I'm prejudiced. And it's better. In the Golden Rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if someone is a sadist or masochist, they can be sadistic to someone else. If someone likes pain, they can cause pain to
Right?
others. In this one, don't do to someone what you don't like.
But I do like it.
Don't do to someone what you don't like. So, if
Well,
I,
that's not what it says, though.
that's exactly what it says.
It says
Do
that
not do
which
unto
is
others what is harmful. Look at the exact quote.
that which is hateful to you.
That which is
Look
hateful to you.
That
That's
which
which is
is
hateful to you, do not do to your fellows.
Right.
But it's not hateful to me if I'm a masochist.
That does not give you permission to be sadistic to someone else, though. What is hateful to you? Well, I don't like being X, Y, or Z. Well, then don't do that to someone else. It does not give you permission to be masochist or sadistic to someone else. It doesn't give the permission. Golden Rule gives permission for the masochist to be sadistic.
Okay.
Do you see that?
I do.
This does not.
Okay.
Right? It does not do that.
Right.
Make sense? Do you see the difference? Subtle difference, but it's very almost down now. But the Great Line always skipped. The Great Line is it says very specifically. This is the entire Torah. The rest is commentary. But then it says, come on, go and practice. Go and learn. So you don't get to just say it. You gotta go do it. Okay? This is some of the stuff about Hillel and Shammai, and there are different teachings in it. So I think that's where we'll stop for tonight with Hillel and Shammai. But does this answer some
Yeah.
basic questions about? Do you understand what Talmud is?
Yeah.
Structurally, there's Mishnah and Gemara. Thematically, there's Halacha and Agadah. I believe the Agadah is what's really important. The law comes out of it. Many people only care about the law, but I believe that comes out. There are great sages, and they debate in what's called machlochet together, and we learn from that, and we teach from that. Does that start to make sense?
Mhm.